All right, let's talk about Donald Trump. He wasted no time Thursday night firing back against some of the attacks.
Where else?
Yes?
On Twitter.
This was on Twitter. Let's take a look. This is a sampling of what we have seen just recently. Hillary's vision is a borderless world where working people have no power, no jobs, no safety.
He's been tweeting up the storm. This is this is stream of consciousness stuff.
Hillary's refusal to mention radical Islam as she pushes a 550% increase in refugees is more proof that she is unfit to lead the country. And there was another one. We have the one on Wall Street where he mentioned. Don't have that one, but in any case,
essentially, Trump said that Hillary will never reform Wall Street because she's owned by Wall Street. What did I say right after the speech?
Yeah.
What will Trump do? Trump will say Hillary Clinton is an insider with a attachment to, lifetime conversation with insiders, money people in politics, et cetera, et cetera. Insider versus outsider. And on this refugee issue. Also, what we talked about earlier in the evening about why Trump has, in some polls, an advantage on security. One of the things he talks about and gets enormous applause lines, and of course he's hyper-simplified it here on Twitter, saying that Hillary Clinton wants to bring in more Syrian refugees than the president does. And Tim Kaine, her running mate, does as well. That's that 550% increase. That's not 550% increase of all refugees.
Right.
All contemplated coming to America under any set of circumstances. It is a specific reference to the Syrian refugee problem. Trump's position is zero. No Syrian refugees under any circumstance, no matter what their level of privation or distress, they're not coming in. And that's a sharp contrast, and he will hammer that throughout this campaign.
It's fascinating that he had this series of tweets, especially after Hillary Clinton had in her own remarks that line that we talked about at the top. A man you can bait with a tweet is not a man we can trust with nuclear weapons. Major, I know we've just been handed a campaign statement. Why don't you go ahead and let us know what exactly here we are
I'll
seeing
summarize. Hillary Clinton talks about unity, but her globalist agenda denies American citizens the protections to which they are all entitled, tearing us apart. Her radical amnesty plan will take jobs, resources, and benefits from the most vulnerable citizens of the United States and give them to citizens of other countries. Her refusal even to say the words radical Islam or to mention her disaster in Libya or her corrupt email scheme all show how little she cares about the safety of the American people. A full-throated broadside from the Trump campaign, picking up on what it considers to be Hillary Clinton's and the Democratic Party's platform's most glaring vulnerabilities. But when he says, and this statement says, take jobs, resources, and benefits from the most vulnerable citizens of the United States and give them to citizens of other countries. Us versus them, writ large, as big as a billboard.
But it also speaks a little to what President Obama said yesterday and what Hillary Clinton echoed in her speech today, both using Ronald Reagan's words, morning in America. This time around, Hillary Clinton saying that the Trump campaign is offering midnight in America, seeking to divide us rather than unite us. And like you just pointed out, Major, it has become, even if you look at the statement, an us versus them position.
I don't think she sold optimism, though. I think this is a race between someone who's very pessimistic and someone who's sort of pessimistic. Because, I mean, Donald Trump is painting America as like on the brink, but she wasn't certainly going as far as President Obama and saying,
well, I don't think she could,
so much
right?
gray.
She probably could not, because, I mean, I just looked at a Pew Research study that says that the people in this country are worried about two things, terrorism and the economy. And so that means that there are real fears out there for people. And so to paint, President Obama can do that because he's leaving and he wants to talk about his legacy. For her, she has to be aware of the reality of the electorate that she's facing.
It was also interesting, and there was a huge round of applause in this building when she said, the president and the vice president don't get enough credit for putting in this country in better shape than it was when they came into office and steering us through the greatest set of economic challenges in our lifetimes. That's a credible case that any Democrat can make. That the country, if you're just because you're not satisfied, doesn't mean things are as bad as they can be. The country is in a different and more stable economic place than it was in 2008, 2009. That's not even a debatable fact.
Right.
And one of the things that it seems to me is incumbent upon every Democrat running on anywhere on the ballot is to say, we're the reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, exactly
on
right.
behalf of that agenda. Because if you don't own that, what are you going to own?
And it's interesting that you say that. Donald Trump earlier today had another statement where he talked about the economy. But if you look at the GOP platform back in 2012 and the things that Mitt Romney said he wanted to accomplish, unemployment under 5%. By 2016, we're at under 5%. He wanted to bring $2.50 gas. We hit that. Stock market is up tremendously. Blue chips are doing tremendously well on the New York Stock Exchange. These are all things that they can point to and say, well, back in 2012, you wanted to get here.
That was your set of metrics.
Right.
Unattainable under Democratic rule, according to the Republican platform.
Correct, yeah.
So that's not an argument on behalf of the Democrats. I'm just saying if Democrats don't own that, they're committing an act of political malpractice. Because you have to own that. Why wouldn't you?
Right, although it really is debatable how much better they are. Like yesterday during President Obama's
wages
speech,
are down. Donald Trump
right,
was
they're
about that.
down, and also there are a lot of people that have dropped out of the workforce.
No question.
I mean, it's
and
that was the least compelling part of President Obama's speech yesterday when he was ticking off all the accomplishments.
Yeah, numbers are more complicated sometimes.
Yeah.